Welcome back to my channel, everyone. This is Unique Speaks. I be over here talking about what I'm talking about, and y'all already know this is episode 3 of the setup, y'all. The setup. I know the first episode, y'all, is not in sync to this series, but hey, I had to go off of the flow. Okay, I didn't quite hear the instruction of where how God wanted me to come at this thing, so I kicked it off with a nice little conversation, just letting y'all know this was coming. But so now we're on episode 3. Okay. Episode 2 talked about the ages from 3 to 7. And I'm going to recap on that. I'm going to share a little bit more on today's episode, as well as tagging into age of 7 on up from 8 to 9, 10, and 11 and 12. I'm going to add some of those in there. But I want to also put this disclaimer out here. I thank you all so much for your feedback. I thank you all so much for your support and your prayers. All of those who are just been commenting and emailing me, I really thank you, for your prayers in this, because hey, I may be on one side of it, but it doesn't mean that I'm not continue under attack, and especially even to stop what God is doing through me for others. Okay. So this conversation, this podcast, this series, what we're talking about right now is this trauma that came over my life, and how God allowed me to turn into triumph. Okay. So I just want to put this disclaimer out here that this is not for weak minds. This is not for those who are highly sensitive or triggered off of trauma, sexual rape, molestation of a child, or even into adulthood, anything like that. I want you to know that this is what we're talking about, but this is to spread the awareness to young and old, to parents, to children, thoughts that will provoke the pattern where we have to be aware and on high alert, ask the questions and have conversations that we normally don't talk about. And so if you have been into these episodes so far, then you'll be even the more of what's to come. Okay. So thank you so much. Thumbs up this video for me, this podcast, share it out with your family and friends, for we all can receive the healing that God is putting on us right now. All right. So thank you. Stay tuned. It's your girl Unique Speaks, talking about what I'm talking about. It's your girl Unique Speaks, talking about what I'm talking about, because it's what your girl is all about. It's your girl. All right, so let's jump into episode 3. Just a quick recap of what I was speaking about on last episode. I was speaking about the ages of 3 to 7 and where my mindset was, what was going on. I really want to make sure that I chime in this age. Thank God for the Holy Spirit, for helping me. If you ask for the wisdom, He will give it. And I asked for wisdom today, for God to show me how He wanted me to do on this podcast today. And so I'm going to stick to this guideline and allow the Holy Spirit to just flow through on what He wants me to share. To recap a little bit off the age of 3 and 7 in my life. Okay. All right. Let me get comfortable, because I am in my secret place. If y'all know about one of them, you already know what that could be. All right. So the age of 3 to 7, I want to really chime in on the imagination that we usually have at this age. I have 3 children, and so I definitely see at all these ages of things I missed out on at their age, and because of that innocence being tampered with. Okay. And I expressed at the age of 3 what happened to me from this man. Basically, he was much older than me, that also tilled into what my brother, my cousins, and other men took advantage of with me, with my ignorance to what I should and should not be doing or allowing anyone to see or touch. Okay. I also wanted to disclaim here, which I said before, this is not to point blame, because I don't have not one resentment inside of me because of Jesus. And so therefore, these are times where we all grew up in different ways. Our parents dealt with whatever they dealt with, and then that goes on to your children if you don't catch it in ahead of time. And I thank God, because at this age for me, I did not have much of an imagination anymore, because my imagination quickly turned into infatuation. And I want to talk about how my imagination turned into infatuation, because in today, at 39 years old, I'm looking at my three children that I literally raised myself with my husband. We have 15, we have 7, and we have 4. So I have 3 children that have now surpassed the age of 3, where I did see nothing but beautiful imagination, innocent, childlike imagination. And I did not have that because mine was tainted with sex, molestation. It was impacted by touch and feelings that I should not had, and I did have. I knew what uncomfortable felt like even before I could even say the word uncomfortable. So, with the imagination turning into infatuation for me, my imagination was no longer the childlike, innocent thoughts. I was infatuated with relationships. One thing I knew, I was a female, and that it was men that were gravitated to me. Even at the age of 3 years old, there was something that downloaded into me that made me realize that I was a valuable piece, okay? A valuable piece in this world, right along with other women. But however, other women was more like competition, because if I'm a woman and you're a woman, then you can get the same man that I have. So I was completely infatuated with relationships. And the relationship that I had, as an example, was my mother and my father. So I see my mother and I see my father. They are together and they do not share each other with others. So the infatuation in my mind about relationships quickly turned into seeing a woman or a female as competition. Okay. So I was also infatuated with men, with boys, okay? Not just with their body parts, but just with them in general. I knew that they was a piece to me and I was a piece to them. There was something that I didn't see growing up where a man wanted a man or a woman wanting a woman a lot. I didn't see a lot of that, nor was it talked about a lot in my growing up. But however, I was able to just put together men go with women and women go with men. I was just able to just see that based off of being a man who came to me and put me on his lap to move me so he could have sensation on him. Okay. So again, at the age of 3, I didn't know what that looks like. I was infatuated also not only just with men and boys, but I now add in the body parts and the feelings, okay? Because I may not have known exactly what was between his legs, to this pinpoint what that is, even if I would have said your private part, because that's something that I definitely used to speak a lot in my adolescence, was, the private part, but private area. So all I knew is that he put me in his private area and he moved me back and forth. And even when I tried to get up, he would reposition me. So these are things that I was infatuated about. Why did he put me in this position on him, and what was he getting out of the movement? What did I get out of the movement? You try to put into a mind of a 3 or 4-year-old of what sensation are you getting out of this position that you have me in. And as I've spoken about in the last episode, before I got to age 7, this person literally used to catch me around the house when we're playing hide and go seek and they're hiding, or I may have to be the seeker or whatever. He would find me and be like, oh, I'm coming this way, and he'll be meeting me on the side of the house, ready to pull down his pants and put his penis in my mouth. Again, I'm not trying to be vulgar or too graphic, but I really want y'all to know that this is what was happening to me between the age of 6 and 7. So it never stopped. This same person was literally a person that I could not seem to avoid because I wanted to play with my friends, which was his little cousins, and he was well enough an adult to not mess with me. But however, I saw it for what it was. I saw it to where he wanted me. And did I even think that he was cute at the time? I don't think so. Like when I just think back in my mind, I really don't believe that I found him like, oh, he's cute or fine. Although, I definitely had those feelings towards people who I thought who were good looking to me, and I just can't say that if he was, not to shame him or anything. I just don't think that I had that emotion upon me at the time where I could categorize him. And so I found myself just in a state of mind of infatuation instead of having a childlike mind, and dealt with a lot of my youth with imagination. My imagination was impacted by infatuation, and those two worlds collided. So as I got into the age of 8, I was definitely in a mindset where 8-year-olds shouldn't be thinking. I look at my 7-year-old today, and the things that comes out of her mouth are just beautiful to me because they're just not tainted with so much worldly things. And that is no credit of my own. I thank God for, helping me raise her differently. Now, you caught my oldest daughter at that age, you probably would have had a different language out of her because of where I was at that age for her. But at the age of 3 and 4, she didn't have to see a lot of those things of me trying to find myself. So, she wasn't just too outspoken, but she was definitely sassy. And she had a lot of physical ways about me, like how she dressed up and certain things that she put on and how infatuated she was with herself, because I was infatuated with myself at that time. So just to point out that, there's things that we can impact our children's life with, either with ourselves or with what they're watching and what they're taking in. And seeing the two difference in my two daughters, they're 8 years apart, I can definitely see where I was and where I wasn't in both of their lives. But for me, at the age of 8, between 8 and 10, for me, it's not going to say that I did not have a strong relationship with my mom. I just know that we didn't talk about a lot of different things. The generation that my mom and my dad grew up in, or much older, what I'm saying, they had a lot more wisdom that was deeper than ours, but it just wasn't broken down. A lot of the traditions of keeping your children out of the home when you're having certain type of conversations or things like that, that was very, very common for me growing up. They sent us outside to play. So I tend to fend for myself a lot, especially if I was out playing with my friends or hanging with my brother, and I hung with my brother a lot. We was particularly close, as growing up, but we still had each other own friends or whatever. But so I will go to my friend's house, he would go to his friend's house, even though it was a couple of houses down, but we try to keep each other into that vicinity where we knew where each other were at, because we had to go home before the lights came on. Okay. My parents didn't play about that, or my mama had to stand on top of that hill where the house sits at and be like calling our name. We already knew we went past the time, because if she's calling our name, we late. Okay, so but however, being out there, with my friends, we ride my bike, I could be, playing in the yard. Well, whatever it is, I tend to fend for myself. I've gotten in a lot of different arguments, or even little petty little fights, even with a little boy. I remember, with a little boy, because he was just such a bad kid. I'm not trying to call nobody bad, but he was just one of those children that had a spirit on him, okay, that he was just feisty and always very hostile, and that again came from his upbringing, what he had to see. But he had to come for me, and my brother was like egging it on. He ended up on top of me and punching me, and I'm just like, I was fending for myself, you know what I'm saying, out here in these streets, like at the age of 8, 9, and 10 years old, you know what I'm saying, like dealing with boys, dealing with girls as friends, and just dealing with all of that all together. Like I really was just trying to figure out life through the vision of what we was dealing with. Okay, I wouldn't say that we grew up in type of neighborhood that was like suburban or anything like that. It was just a regular neighborhood where people could live in, no matter what you look like, whatever, you know what I'm saying. It wasn't like a grade of a class of people, you know what I'm saying. We all kind of grew up together. We all had different lifestyles. Some had some morals and some didn't, you know what I'm saying. So we were around all of it all together, so I had a little bit of street and I had a little bit of modesty, and it was just a mixture of worlds. Now, even with the friends that I had, they was just as boy crazy. dealing with emotions, feelings, and all these things were unspoken upon among my parents, but it was definitely spoken upon with my friends. And so we talked all the time. We would talk about how we like about boys, who we like, who we didn't like, who we thought was cute, who we wasn't cute, who we would date, who we wouldn't date. We would have those open conversations all the time. But when it came to my mom and my dad, I would feel like I could not talk to them about that. And if I did say certain things to my mom, she would be like, you don't need to be talking about boys. You need to be thinking about boys, or you need to be thinking about that. But I don't need to be, but I am, And so I did not know what to do with those feelings. Here's a point here for the parents. Don't ever believe that just because you want to keep your child in the innocent mind, that their mind is not thinking it. And so if you don't plant the right seed there, we open ourselves up for a whole plotted field that's full of good soil ready to be planted on, and anything will begin to plant seeds there, especially if you're not, mining that field, if you're not, on the adolescence soil, anything can have a drop into that soil and begin to produce from that place, all because you won't plant anything. And so I just want to, point that out, but that's just how my parents were. That's how they were raised, and certain things they would talk about, but they would only give but so much, and you almost had to figure it out for yourself. That's how I felt. But when it came to the few friends, we weren't friends long, all these emotions and feelings that you had going on, next thing you know, you would fall out from being friends. So that conversation went from another conversation to a whole nother female to this emotion, to this feeling. So that went on from the age of 8 and 10. I watched a lot of TV around this age. It wasn't guarded like how we can today, how you have, my husband is real big on the tech stuff. Y'all already know how I'm different is. He's very big on techie things. So he knows how to program laptops, TVs, and everything. See what you're watching, what you downloaded, when you downloaded, what you playing on it. I mean, he got into all of that, right? So we got this type of sense that we could protect our children from certain things, but there is only but so much far that can go, right? But however, growing up for us, myself, I didn't have all of that. There was none of that. You can literally pull the wool over your parents' eyes at that time for my parents very quickly, unfortunately. And it was just their generation itself, because they just did not have modernized a lot of technology at the time. And so TV was something that I had access to. There was certain channels, once they got the dish or something like that, that satellite, whatever, there was certain things that was restricted, and there was certain things that weren't, like HBO, Cinemax. Y'all, I don't watch this many stuff anymore, so I don't know if those are still like big hot broadcasting things on TV or not, but I do know, like, HBO and Cinemax was not the broadcast you want your child on. Okay, when things are rated R, believe it. Rated PG-13, believe it. Whatever you want to subject your child to watch, be careful with the content that's created in it. Watch it yourself or something. A lot of what you call today soft porn was in a lot of these movies on HBO and Cinemax. Sometimes they even had this show or something that came on called Real Sex, and it would show all kinds of stuff. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. I mean, I can't elaborate enough, okay, how much is on TV today, but let alone what was on it back then. And like I said, a lot of the soft porn that introduced me to porn, and introduced me to what it was really happening behind the scenes, or what you could not see, what they wouldn't show you on HBO or whatever like that. And that's where my brother was curious as well. My brother was three and a half years older than me. So therefore he had access to things that I didn't have access to. So, him watching TV and getting introduced, you knew more like this existed. So yeah, my parents were one of those ones that were, they were adults. Okay, they were doing their adulting. Okay, I'm just gonna say it just like that. And so my brother got his hands, on some of their, tapes, and back then was the VCR. Okay, if y'all don't know what that is, y'all need to look that up, because I know we got DVDs, Blu-rays, and all these different other ways to watch movies and stuff like that, or download stuff, But however, we had the VCRs back then, and so my brother would all the time like, oh, come look at this, come and look at this, and I would look, and it'd be like, what the world? And I was actually seeing intercourse. I was actually seeing sex happening on the television screen, on to the point where you you see all genital parts and everything that goes along with that. So literally, I'm like, this is what happens. Like, oh my God, I was disgusted because I did not know the whole theory of how all that played a part. To just see it had me stuck, and again, infatuation was where I was at. So I began to be infatuated with the moans and the feelings and the sexual acts. Okay, so also at this age, I'm building my imagination with infatuation and being infatuated with girls and boys. I was watching my cousins, watching other kids, watching, people my age or whatever the case may be. I began to learn about clothing, how to dress, how to talk, how to maneuver. And at this time, at this age, I had this Jerry curl. And I always used to love when my mom like let me wear it up in a ponytail, and I would puff it out like Afro puff, because I hated the curls. Like, I hated them. I got picked on in school, calling Jerry curl. You got a juicy curl, or juicy Jerry curl. I done heard it all. You know what I'm saying? My hair is naturally curly, but the texturized curls, they had to stay moist. Okay, if you already know what I'm talking about, okay. that glow, it has to shine, it has to be dripping. Okay, like, I hated it. But however, going through those stages, allowed me to want to look at others more. And before ending the fourth grade, going into the fifth grade. Come on, get it together. Before leaving the fourth grade, I was already straightening out my hair. I was trying to flat iron my hair. I was trying to get my hair to be more like others. And I started to see more myself. So this infatuation took me away from who I really was, or who I should have been becoming, or anything like that, because I didn't have no mind of my own. And my mind was literally impacted and influenced by everything and everyone very, very quickly. It did not take no time. And that's why I am the type of parent that I am today, because I literally look at my children and I think about what could be easily infatuating them, or influencing them, or impacting their lives, planting seeds in their lives. So I'm always having these open conversations, so they would know, like, this is how I thought, and this is what I know that it did to me, because I have to look back over my life and I have to see what happened and how it happened, just so I can continue to overcome it. Okay. So knowing what happened to me the ages of 8 through 10, through television, my emotions, my feelings, have being boy crazy. Like I said, I'm not having much of an imagination, but becoming infatuated with false truths and literally deceived of what sex was all about, not being able to express my feelings the way that I should have or wanted to with my parents, and able to be educated properly. All of these things played a very, very huge part of me becoming what I saw in others. Before I got into the fifth grade, I really want to exemplify this area of my life where a snippet of light came in. That even though my mind seemed to be so bothered with school and trying to keep up with my grades, trying to do what I'm supposed to do in school, trying to keep friends, losing friends, all of this up and down with boys, liking boys, trying to be their girlfriend, and things that they didn't like about me. All of these things began to be something that took over my mind and my life. And this one gleam of light came in through a guidance counselor. And I will never forget this this guidance counselor. His name was Dr. Holmes. And I can't remember his first name, but shout out to him, because he was used by God that I did not see at the time. But I'm looking back and I'm like telling y'all my story. So y'all going to get a little of that every now and then. But he was definitely used by God for me, because he gave me a glimpse of light about me that I did not know about myself. He literally called me in, and I don't know how he came up with the assumption that I could help others. I don't know if it was the way that I talk or what did I said when I said something to him, but he's told me that he wanted me to start peer mediating my peers. Now, again, this is before I ended fourth grade, so I began to talk. I even want to believe that it happened in third grade, but between third and fourth grade, like I said, I'm around the ages of maybe 9 or 10 years old when I am asked to peer mediate my peers. And I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed it so much that I used to ask him, hey, you got any we got any appointments today? Walk by his office. He was like, no, go on to class, And but when he did have one, he would pull me out of class. He would ask permission from the teacher, make sure I was up to date on my classwork and stuff like that. And then he would pull me out and I would sit between two peers, maybe my could be classmates or just people in the same grade as me, may not be in the same class. And I would help them work out their issue. I would hear both sides. And then by the time they would leave that table, they'd be hugging or they could be crying or whatever. I did not know what I was doing, but I felt good doing it. Okay. That's all I know. And I every time I got a glimpse of that, it gave me a sense of importance and belonging in something that was not in the world of my mind. By the age of 11 and 12, now I'm in about fifth grade. Now I did get kept back in kindergarten. I was bad. I was, I keep saying bad, but I had a bad spirit. Okay. They didn't want to learn, concentrate or comprehend what I should have been learning. And so whatever I did not get, I got the second year. So if my ages are going to be off with grade levels, you get it. And also my birthday is late. So I didn't start kindergarten at 5. I was 6 years old. So let's just make that clear. Okay. So be like, you got kept back a lot. No, I only got kept back one time. Okay. All right. So now we got that out the air. But okay. So about 11 and 12 years old. Okay. I am in fifth grade. Okay. And fifth grade is where I have now in my second year of step team. I got into the step team in fourth grade year. But I don't think it was the whole entire school year. I'm not sure, but it was most of my fourth grade year. They created a step team and I got a part of that. By fifth grade year, I believe I became some type of captain or I used to make up the routine. So I got really, really close with one of the teachers there. I don't know if she was an actual teacher or was she's a teacher's aide. Okay. But however, I do know that me and her hung very, very tight. And so I was one of those kids that most kids say it all the time, which I was like, I tell my kids, don't you dare call nobody your mama. I'm your mama. My mama wasn't like that. She probably didn't even see it like that, like I see it. But however, I consider her like, you were like my mom, I felt like she was fun. She was outgoing. You know what I'm saying? She was a little bit younger than my mom. I don't even know how old she was from my mom, but she was older than me. She was definitely an adult, a full adult, 2 children. But however, she didn't have any daughters. So I was like a daughter to her and she was like a mom figure to me. I felt like she was just youthful and does a lot of things my mom didn't do. And I thought my mom was lame. I thought my mom just didn't have fun or nothing like that because I felt like she did. And so I gravitated her in a lot of ways, but it was what was gravitating me to her was the thing. I don't want to shame anybody, but she may hear this message. I don't want her to think that I sing this to her, but there was a spirit of worldly, fleshly things on her. Okay. So the music she listened to, how she danced, how she spoke, those are things I probably didn't pick up right away, but I picked up on. Okay. They became a part of me. I started to have a little bit more sassiness about myself. And I used to have a little bit of cockiness about myself. I mean, a lot of those things came from what I saw of her. Okay. Very confident woman, a confident woman of her color, a confident woman of her size and her children, her lifestyle. She was just, to me, I felt like that was what I needed to know about life. And I need to become a woman like her, be able to jump in my car and just go. I mean, I was infatuated with certain things about her, but none of that was godly, y'all. There's nothing, there's not a lot of godly parts in this part of my beginning because it just wasn't in existence. So there's a very, very keen story that happened, an encounter that I had with her that completely destroyed my relationship with her. And I'm going to end this here. And you can catch episode 4. You will be well on your way to know what happens after I spend a night at her house. There's so much other things that happen prior up to that, and I'm going to share that in episode 4. So stay tuned, you all, because this is just at the age of 11 and 12. Okay, I'm in 5th grade. We haven't made it out of elementary school. Okay, and I know I'm saying a lot. I know I'm sharing a lot, but there are a lot of details, and some things I've shared and some things I haven't. It just will make it elongated, drawn out series. But however, whatever I share is what God is allowing me to share. So if it didn't get shared, you can always reach out to me. You can ask me any questions in the comment section. You're welcome to email me, or reach out to me any of my other social medias. Okay, y'all, I want y'all to get really, really into this conversation, because this conversation is real. This goes into many households today. Many children are still dealing with this even the more today, because some of us as parents can be completely careless with how we deal with our children. We think everybody's okay. We think everybody is safe. And I want everybody to now have a thought pattern that this world can have you corrupted and delusional and deceived by the things that we're really looking at. We should not judge by appearance. We should be judging with righteous judgment. But how do we do that? We get into our word and we know God's righteousness. The more we know of his righteousness, the more we can live it and see it for ourselves. But the lack we have, the lack thereof, the more we're going to perish, the more our children are going to perish. So I stress that, this entire story is to bring out the awareness, not to just the youth and children, but to parents. And we can't have no closed eye. We can't be out here carelessly thinking that everything is okay with our children, and we haven't really had those real type of conversations. I'm living proof that you can have those conversations with your children. I have 3 of my own that I do not hold back story time, because I want them to know the ins and the outs, and I want them to know that I am a source that they can ask these questions to, that I'm not going to give them a watered down answer or some make believe something that makes it all cute and dandy. No, I'm going to tell you what God wants you to know, and exactly how God wants you to know it, that we fight up against things that we cannot see every single day. And that starts with our childhood. Trauma is not my identity. Okay. We can turn trauma into a triumph, and you are in the story of Unique Speaks. So stay tuned until the next time. I thank you so much for, taking in everything that I had to share. And got any questions? If you liking this, if you're enjoying this, comment down below. I want to hear back from you. Okay. Subscribe to the channel. Okay. Because this is a journey that you do not want to miss. We're on to our healing. We are overcomers. We are not stuck into the identity of what trauma tried to put on us. Okay. Let's sound different. Let's look different. Let's move different, because of Jesus, we are different. All right. So I'm going to see you in the next episode. I love you all so much. Just know that God loves you the most and the best. Okay. He will always be the one you can count on no matter what. Okay. Read your word, stay in your word, and let's endure it to the end together. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.